what it says. Let me for a whole 6 seconds. It's always like very difficult to get right because the little notifications for YouTube are challenging to pick up on this version of OBS. I should probably update it, but then again, every time I update it, I lose a bunch of features, or they like change settings. All the features are there. It's interesting, but as we're live, we have an excellent live feed. So if you're joining us and you can hear us all right, good on you and welcome back. It's the Modern Relics podcast, and we're here live because we get to do that once a month or so.
Yeah.
So yeah, dude. So things are different. You're here.
I am.
You're
currently
you're tattooing in a new spot. We didn't have a bad breakup with the old one. Jesse's a fucking badass.
Yeah,
It's
Jesse
just
is a
little
badass.
busier, yeah. Tell us about that. What's up?
So yeah, I had to make a little bit of a change on my way out last month. I had to kind of make a decision because although the shop is beautiful, Jesse's a rad guy. He's a great artist.
Very much.
In order for me to continue coming down here, it has to be profitable enough for me to do that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I can just sit at home and do my regular appointments. So that being said, I had to kind of tell Jesse, hey man, I need to let you know that it has nothing to do with you. It's not you, it's me.
Right.
And basically just said, I just can't keep coming down here. On my way out, I get a message from a friend who I had totally spaced. I've known him for like 10 years or more. And totally spaced that he lived and worked in the Vegas region, right? Mm-hmm. And my buddy Caps, who were just old convention buddies, messages me on my way to the airport, basically says, hey, little birdie tells me you're wandering around town, working around here. He probably saw some of my posts or whatever. And I was like, yeah. He goes, dude. I was like, this is the situation. He goes, man, come work for me. I own Mad Monk Tattoo. I'm in the Meadows Mall down by the Stratosphere. Like, come check it out. I'd love to have you. I have guys that do this too, who come in like, one week out of the month. This isn't abnormal for me, and I could use the help. I got the space. I was like, excellent, we'll give it a shot. So that's where I'm at, and it's fantastic. It's a beautiful shop in the Meadows Mall, and it is great getting to hang out with Caps has put together a really great crew there. He's got Lee Jack, who I've met. He's fantastic. And then Dustin and Brittany and Nevin is the apprentice's name. And then I haven't met the piercer yet, but I've been told he's pretty cool too. But I should meet him tomorrow. Yeah. But it's great. Beautiful shop. A lot more foot traffic. Lot steadier. I have a feeling that it's going to be pretty good place for me. So I've got good feelings about it. And it's just a much more. It's the pace that I was looking for. Yeah. So yeah. So it's definitely a better spot for me. And
I saw one of the pieces you did today on the vape store guy. Yeah. Sent me a bunch of photos that looked fucking dope.
Yeah, I did a big neck piece today of a lotus flower, which is his mom's birth flower. So water lily.
There's a flower for people's births?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And man, moms love to get tattoos of all 9 of their kids' birth flowers in a bouquet or whatever, and it's
okay. I mean, you would know that way more. Like, I knew there was birth stones, but
they try to throw those in there in the same tattoo as well. Yeah. Names, dates, birth flowers, birth stones, butterflies for the dead ones.
Like don't blame yourself for your failures. Learn astrology and blame the planets. There's something for everybody.
Right.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So it's a real positive step. However, I will not, and I told him, I will not be coming back for October just because of you've got stuff going on, and I just don't want to be that far away a week before the election. As crazy as the world's gotten, it would not surprise me in the slightest if, especially in a swing state, battle state such as Nevada, that something pops off and they have to shut airports down and I get stuck. you
Yeah,
know, I'm
you know,
not risking it.
I couldn't have imagined thinking this earlier, but like I think no matter who wins, there's going to be some sort of civil unrest.
Yeah.
And just not looking forward to any of that. Hopefully there's not.
I hope
but,
not either.
You know, I can't blame you for wanting to be home.
Yeah.
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 Totally get it.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely kind of stick close and hope for the best.
Yeah.
So, but so you have a story.
Yeah.
That you really wanted to kind of.
Well, so this comes from like it's a newsletter from a company called Malware Bytes, and what Malware Bytes is essentially Norton antivirus.
Okay.
But they put out really insightful newsletters, and they're like pretty industry known for like, you know, run a scan to figure out if you have viruses on your computer. So they stay up on all the cybersecurity threats. This caught my attention. The title is called Ford Wants to Eavesdrop on Passenger Conversations to Help Target Ads. So the car manufacturer Ford Motor Company filed a patent application for an in-vehicle advertisement presentation system based on information derived from several trip and driver characteristics. Among those characteristics are human conversations. So there's going to be some sort of listening device in this patent that will allow them to aggregate information to farm more ad content directly to you. So an example method includes determining vehicle information for the trip, information during any one of more of a current vehicle location, speed, drive mode, and or traffic information, user information including any one or more of a route prediction, speed prediction for the trip and or a destination, determining user preferences for advertisements from any one or more of the audio signals within a vehicle or historical user data, selecting the number of advertisements to present to the user during a trip, and providing advertisements to the user during the trip through a human-machine interface of the vehicle. Further, it details the controller may monitor user dialogue to detect when individuals are in a conversation. And based on this info, the controller can decrease or increase the number of ads, and the conversations can be parsed for keywords or phrases that may indicate where the occupants are traveling to. Essentially, the car you're driving would not only spy on your driving behavior, your present and future locations, and your requested driving routes, but would also eavesdrop on you on the way there. And let's not forget the safety implications of displaying advertisements while you're driving. So, and this is from their perspective. We have spoken about cars and privacy at length and came to the conclusion they're not very good at it. Many politicians in the U.S. agree with that point of view. U.S. senators have asked Federal Trade Commission to investigate car makers' privacy practices, and the Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton sued General Motors for selling customer driving data to third parties, which I believe is the same story we covered on this podcast months and months ago. So they go on to say, we explain why car location tracking needs an overhaul, and we've implored the automakers work together to help users by providing them with abilities to turn tracking features off, which is a massive vulnerability for people, say, fleeing from an abusive relationship and stuff. Yet nowhere in the entire document exists one word about how Ford intends to keep the acquired information secure. We'd advise all car companies remediate existing security vulnerabilities before introducing a bunch of new ones, which is a good point.
Yeah.
What's next, Ford? Will you stop working if we drive past one of the establishments that sponsor your ads? Or was that a feature to disable a functionality of a component of the vehicle or to place the vehicle in a lockout condition only for the repossession plans you attempted to patent earlier on? Which is also something they tried to patent.
Yeah.
Another controversial Ford patent filed in July describing technology that would enable vehicles to monitor the speed of nearby cars, photograph them, and then send the information to police. In a statement to Fortune magazine, the company clarified that filing a patent is a standard practice to explore new ideas and doesn't necessarily indicate immediate plans to release such a system.
No, naturally.
We realize that advertisements make the internet go round and many useful websites could not exist without them, but do these in-vehicle advertisements benefit the owner of the car? If it makes the cars cheaper, I'd be willing to pay some extra to not be fucking bothered and eavesdropped on while driving. How about you?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that, I think, touches on a few things. The obvious road I could go down is this is really bad and blah, 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 blah. But I think the very last statement in the entire article is the one that resonates the most. Like, are we entering a period of time where I have to pay a subscription fee to be left the fuck alone?
It's like, getting to that point, yeah.
Like, I have to somehow ingest and accept the fact that I'm just going to get spied on no matter what.
Well, that's actually the point I was.
You to leave me alone.
Well, that was the point I was going to make. Is this just a software thing for advertising? Because with, let's say, the microphones that we already know that are in the cars, because you speak through it when your phone's connected to it, so it's already got listening devices installed. Between all of the OnStar stuff and the stuff that's connected to your phone and the connectivity that's happening already, and it's already, I mean, Ken Paxton has already like pointed out via lawfare that the information's already being stored and sent to different places for who knows what and whatever what, right?
Yeah, and there was no precedent set to not fucking sell your information, so GM just started doing it.
Right. And so this particular Ford situation is just basically, well, we just want to sell it to advertisers so we can make money, and so that, but then also they were like, and you can also be the tattletale on the road and tell on your neighbors. Now, I'm in a current situation, and please, anybody watching this, please clip this portion because it's specifically for the Jen Noels and Teresa Roths in our local neck of the woods. But everyone's pissed off in our area because there's a sheriff battle going on where we have a great sheriff, but they really want to paint him as this like this globalist, Masonic, which they have no evidence of any of this. They just like really play leapfrog of trying to get him to these things, right? But one of the things they're trying to pin on him is that he battles with the county over budget, which every sheriff has to do. That he has to get his budget from the 3 county commissioners that sit before him who control the purse strings. And he came into the situation where the previous 2 sheriffs, but especially the previous sheriff, did nothing to get his deputies any raises, to really do anything for the sheriff's department. So he was working off of a massive deficit. Where we're losing, we have no infrastructure, it's all falling apart. And on top of that, all of our guys are getting paid Panda Express or Panda wages, right?
Or Panda Express wages.
That's what I meant. Yeah. So, but yeah.
Just eating bamboo?
Just eating bamboo. But yeah, he's been really struggling with this, and he's been really great and creative and fighting for his guys and fighting for his department, which is what I want every sheriff to do.
Sure.
I want him to go, hey.
Unless it's at the cost of the constituents he's protecting. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, but for some reason they're trying to demonize him on this. And so he finally started retaining deputies instead of losing them to other counties or the city police because they just pay more. And so he's finally
extra bamboo.
Yeah, right. Extra bamboo.
That's keep them.
So he's now retaining guys, and so he needs more patrol cars because he's got more guys.
Needs more uniforms, more handcuffs, more patrol cars. Yeah.
Right. But one of the things that comes with those patrol cars are license plate readers. And they are losing their minds because for some reason it just occurred to them that these are a thing. And not only are they not, it's not a new technology, and including the software that they use, which is a Motorola software, but all they were discussing is whether or not to re-up the software.
How do you know that and I don't know that?
What?
That it's a Motorola software.
Because we've been talking a lot about it. So it came up in the county discussion.
I was like, color me impressed. This one's been reading some fucking books. Come a long way since we started the pod where you're like, how do I turn on my microphone? And I'm like, I still can't hear you. I just see his mouth.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah. Anyway, but it is a Motorola software, and basically it came up within the budget meeting that they have to decide whether or not they're going to re-up the contract for the Motorola software.
And the people are furious because
they think that this is
plate reading stuff is out to get them somehow.
Yeah, it is a
Soylent Green is people.
It is smart cities. It is, technology, basically tracking technology so that the nefarious government is going to come and get them. I don't disagree that there are apparatuses out there that are constructed for this and also smart city stuff. However, in this particular case, this technology is over 20 years old. It's been used within our police system or in our sheriff's office for over 20 years. It's used in every law enforcement agency. And guess who? And they're like, but it's the software that's collecting the data on them. Yep. You know where that goes?
The DMV.
The DMV. Mm-hmm. They already have that information. That's all it goes to. It doesn't go anywhere else. They're not like going to get you. They already have you. They have you at this.
Are these people aware that there was an 18-year-old kid that was fucking around on some chat forums and the feds were monitoring him hard enough to take him down in your town? And they're worried about the license plate readers, not the least of which was less than 1 year ago, the feds were actively monitoring internet traffic, and we just kind of glaze by that fact and go, wow, the narrative of the story, which even we talked about, was how does this kid turn to ISIS believing in stuff from the comfort of his small Post Falls or wherever the fuck town? Are they aware that that is like infinitely scarier than a license plate reader?
They are not at all. In fact, the only reason that
it might be a good example to bring up and be like, hey guys, if you want the blind lady holding a set of scales to maybe tip one side or the other on government overreach, take a look at Exhibit A and just kind of walk them through how fucked up that is.
They'll walk it back and go, well, just because it's not as extreme as that doesn't mean we shouldn't fight it. And I'm like, well, okay, but how come you're not fighting it over at the Coeur d'Alene Police Department for the last 4 years?
And your cell phones that you guys all have in your fucking...
Their argument is this is a choice.
And driving's not?
And driving's not. So, So you chose to have yourself put in the database at the DMV. Sorry, you did.
Yeah.
And so guess what? All those police readers are doing that. What we're talking about is actually scary.
Yeah.
Not because, and in fact, let's also point out the fact that the way that they caught the last Trump assassin was with a license plate reader. So also that. So, but just, it's absurd to me that we're dealing with this. And the whole kit and caboodle about what this is about is they really, really want to just weaponize everything that they can against Sheriff Norris, which is totally insane. But that's the only reason that they're really concerned about it, is so that they can use it as a weapon. They didn't care the last 4 years that he was sheriff. They didn't care the last 16 years previous. They don't care about any other police department, the Post Falls Police Department, the Coeur d'Alene Police Department, Spokane Police Department. They don't care about any other police departments, just the Kootenai County Sheriff's Department, because Sheriff Norris is ordering more just normal protocol procedure stuff for his new cruisers.
Two things. One, I want somebody to live stream some of these conversations.
Oh, dude.
Because I would love to Mystery Science Theater 3000 that from the comfort of down here in Nevada. The second thing is I would recommend, and I assume, Sheriff Norris?
Sheriff Norris.
I assume, Sheriff Norris, you're watching this podcast. And so as a former resident in your constituency and someone that can hide behind the safety of being a Nevada resident now, my recommendation is, rather than getting the police cruisers to really shove it to them, you should provide your deputies with horses. And try to get some real work done on horseback to see how much they bitch about that when bad guys are getting away, when they're 45 minutes to an hour late to show up to a scene. They can't read license plates, can they? Horses are shitting on stuff.
They're really bad.
The whole time. You gotta stop
horses are terrible at reading license plates.
Carrots and stuff. None of this would. I think you should do that.
Yeah,
that would be my recommendation.
Ideas from Nevada, but
right? We're Old Testament down here. The truth is, if this is already implemented in the sheriff's department now, why is this an issue at all? If this technology exists in other patrol cars and stuff like that, you said it's been going on in the county in different city cruisers or other
all of them
police departments, or
these are standard operating.
Why is this issue the one that's bubbling up now? Why isn't it?
Because they watch
budget prioritization sucks and we hate you for that.
Well, they watched the county commissioner meeting, and they were watching the meeting, the budget meeting, and this got brought up, and they were like, oh, those are spy cameras on those cop cars.
Oh, I see.
And now we've discovered them, so now we're going to blow it up into an issue that it isn't because we don't know anything about law enforcement or how it operates.
I see. So like literally it could have been anything.
Could have been anything.
Tickled the tinfoil, and they would have just grabbed onto it like a piranha.
100%. So, but in the meantime, we've got Ford, and regular corporations doing this already to a degree that even if your local police department doesn't put license plate readers on them, all of the information is fed to them throughout all of the corporations of every new car that you could possibly buy past 2018 on. So anything past 2018 on, you're already getting all of that.
You're already getting all of that. And it's like, I don't have the associated article on tap, so I will paraphrase it. But if you search for it, you can find it. Probably a year ago now, maybe. Sounds about right. Some company that does AI tools that indexes keywords, conversations, and does generative database building and different things like that, broke some pretty massive non-disclosure agreements because they were, I assume, pissed off that they lost a contract or something like that, or someone pulled out. And they started naming major corporations, real big ones, that say, well, the technology's already in place, that they have these AI bots that are monitoring all of your written information on popular collaboration tools, not even social media, like corporate collaboration tools like Slack, Microsoft Teams, Skype, things like that, that monitor all of those for keywords that they can index and look for trends and patterns among conversations within their employees, that they're monitoring and indexing and recording all of the teleconference stuff. And this AI bot is basically scanning for stuff and indexing to figure out things like corporate sentiment, where rumors are getting started, how to quash bad or destructive ideas that may flourish among the employee populace, and had been doing that for a long while, like north of a year. So that was pretty eye-opening because there was some math, like tons of big corporations, like gas company corporations, restaurant corporations, media stuff, like a lot. And I thought to myself, the first thing I thought was, wow, somebody breached a major non-disclosure agreement by going public to CNBC with that information. And all of these major corporations, they have lawyers that eat lawyers. Like, you're fucked, because it was a little company, relatively speaking. But the larger narrative that you should really think about is this type of activity goes on involuntarily anyway, just because there's no precedence to stop it. Yeah. So that type of stuff is just coming full circle, where it's everywhere. It's your phone. A lot of it is your net traffic. You can't just turn on incognito mode and think you can take on the world. It doesn't work like that. But now your car. Yeah. You know, and again, partially I agree with the Ford statement of like, yo, just because we patent the idea, it's because we want the money for it. If somebody else comes up with it, doesn't mean we're going to release it. But look at all the other patent filings they've had in the last year and a half, such as, well, we have the tech to photograph cars and send it to the cops, patent that. Now we want to advertise to you in your car. No one else is doing it, patent that. So yeah, it struck me as like, if you really take a few steps back and look at it from a helicopter view. Yeah, I mean, it's terrifying. It's the surveillance state. Yeah, you know, and that's what they're worried about with these license plate readers for the sheriff's department. But this is the real surveillance state. This is the real surveillance. The cars, and we're making $500-600 payments a month to participate in it. Yeah, when we buy these things. Yeah, just, by the way. So every time you make a payment for your car, you're actually paying into being surveilled in a vehicle on, you know, while you're on the road. They're tracking every turn you make. They are, which Google probably and Apple probably already are. Yeah, with like the Google Maps, the Apple Maps, and all that stuff. And you don't even have to have them on. It's just shows. It tells you. It pings you. It tells you traffic patterns. Yeah. Like, oh, you're coming into an intersection that's red with traffic. How else do they know that unless they're beaconing all these other phones congested in an area that are not moving
Yeah.
that fast. And then Waze was purchased, and that's user fed. So it's like people are feeding that one information. So yeah, this stuff, it's.
But you don't even have.
There's not sophisticated analytics behind this shit. Think again, man.
Yeah.
Like these guys are not.
Even if you
stopping.
don't have your phone in your car with you, let's say you chuck this thing out the window, there's enough computers within your car that is tracking you anyway, and it is pinging you along the road. And even if they have not yet come out as to using it. Anything past 2018, it has a navigation system in it, and that navigation system is pinging off of every single point that it has within the Google system. So, yeah, you're being tracked. And
and frankly, anybody, Garmin.
Yeah.
Magellan, if anyone still uses the suction cup ones, but
Yeah.
You don't have to these days with all the enabled GPS radios in the cars and stuff. Yeah. Absolutely.
So, no, I think it is terrifying. I got my daughter a 1978 Ford Courier pickup truck precisely for that reason. It doesn't have a computer chip in it.
Get her a horse.
Yeah. Maybe a horse is better. Yeah.
She'll get there eventually.
She does. I mean, it's about as fast as a horse, so it's not much different.
Basically a moped with four wheels.
Yeah, it really is.
Good seatbelt. Yeah.
I was like, she's going to have to ask it pretty please going downhill for it to go above 70 miles an hour, and that's what I want.
Yeah.
I want her in a giant steel, crate.
At the top of fifth gear, and she still has to let the sail out. Yeah.
I was like, I'm actually a little dad worried because she is going to her first concert this Friday, and it's in Montana, and she's taking a friend, and it's a good friend. I'm okay with this friend going, but I got told right before I hit the plane that oh no, they're taking your car, my car. They're taking my car to the concert in Montana. I was like, oh, and she normally either drives her truck or her mom's car, which is way more gutless than mine. Mine's got more punch to it. And I'm like, you're taking my car?
Right.
My car too? Okay. All right. It's the safe one. It's got good tires on it. It's got good brakes. It's got, it's got all the safety features. Yeah, no, I actually want you in there, but please don't hurt my car. You got to go over that pass. You got to, and so yeah, I trust her. She'll be fine. But yeah, there's just that little bit of a walnut in my throat right now.
Yeah.
Just like,
I mean, it's a big move. That's a big move.
She's almost 19 and she drives like a grandma. I shouldn't really be worried.
I was telling you when we talked about this, I think last night, it was like, I'm pretty sure that's the child you have to worry least about going on trips like that, which is probably fine. Cynthiana joins chat. Hello there. It's good to see you again. Thank you for coming back over and over again. Appreciate it. I think what we're talking about leads into kind of the discussion topic I wanted to bring up, which is, when does being aware and prepared go into full prepper mode? And also, I think prepper has a whole new sex appeal to it, commercially speaking.
Absolutely.
Now, and not just because of the political climate in America. Like, people are trending on TikTok for all the survivalist stuff. And
it's economic too. They can't afford to buy a house, so what do they do?
Super economical. Yeah, which good point. I haven't looked at it from that lens, but is there a line anymore where it's like, oh, you're one of those weird preppers that's like burying guns and food in your backyard and Y2K is coming? Or can you just not be prepared enough these days with all the uncertainty that's going on? Like, how does that strike you? Because I find myself getting a little more turned on at the fact that I grew up in a very permissive wilderness environment of learning how to survive and farming animals and being able to hunt to eat, and I can do it. It's not my favorite activity, but I can do it. But because of political climates where they're at now, it's like, I'm in a state that has to import food. We're running out of water, which is pretty well known, and it's probably better to think about these things now than should something happen. Not saying, there's going to be so much political unrest that civil war breaks out in the States. That seems a bit extreme at the moment, but it doesn't mean it removes all doubt. Yeah. And so, I'm kind of turned on by getting prepared and have already been for, I don't know, a year or more.
Yeah.
But like, where are you with all that right now? And like, is there a stigma around it anymore? Or can we all just learn a thing or two and get ready for who knows what?
Well, as somebody who grew up, and I often say, I lived off grid before it was cool.
Yeah, sure.
And so my parents did it when the internet wasn't available, or it wasn't a thing.
We had payphones back then, and we had to walk to them.
Yeah, it's true.
My era.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't even have a phone. We had to, a couple years later, we had to like run our own farmer line down a hill and everything. But it was years after we'd started. I lived completely off grid growing up. I lived in a survivalist, and this was in the mid 80s to mid 90s that I was there. And so I think that since that time frame, and especially currently, I think there's many branches of the prepper survivalist tree. And I think that there's half of them that are valid, and then there's a quarter of them that are crazy, and a quarter of them that are stupid. So I think that, but stupid out of necessity, because they're the kids that I'm talking about, the ones that, or the people that are neo hippies that have no future ahead of them but don't really care.
Yeah.
So it's the cool thing to do, to go live off grid and raise some chickens.
To become Apothecary Gary on TikTok. Or
yes,
whatever.
exactly.
Sure.
So, and it's all stems out of the economy that they're ignoring. They'll never be able to own a house because of what's going on. So they bought a van, and the van turned into living, on somebody else's property while they're building.
Which was huge in the pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely.
I knew lots of folks that were like, yeah, I'm just buying a small Sprinter. And I'm putting a bathroom and a shower in it, and a little, what do they call those? The boiler things.
Boiler plates.
Yeah, like jet boil.
Yeah.
I got a jet boil and I'm fine.
Yeah.
Like, wow. Okay. Good luck, man.
Yeah.
So, yeah. No, that was huge.
Yeah. And I think that there's a spin-off of that. I also think that there's just to the right of them is younger people who are doing it now too, but it's because they're disconnecting from what they see in modernity, what they see in modern living, and they're rejecting it. And they're like, I don't know how to do this, but I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to make a TikTok about it. And they're salt of the earth, and they're actually, the integrity is there, whether or not the longevity is there. If they're going to do this more than a couple of years when it starts to get really hard. Yeah. Right now it's hobbyist kind of level, but they're enjoying it, and they're really kind of getting rid of TV, and they're they're farming all their own food to the best of their ability and learning as they go. I don't blame them much. I think they're fine. And I think that half of them will fade back into normal society and the other half will continue on. And then you've got your regular people who are like, I don't want to live in the cities anymore. I'm tired of what I'm seeing in urban decay, and I'm tired of seeing what I'm in societal decay. And I just want to get back to my roots, or I want to actually pursue this and get away. I can make a living out here just living off the land. And then in a survivalist kind of way, and then also on a political level, they're like, I don't see good things coming, and even if I hope for the best, and I hope it's going to be okay, but I don't want to get caught with my pants around my ankles when this happens. So I'm going to prepare. Now, it could be preparation for some type of political or national or global strife, which is high-end extreme, or it could be a natural disaster. It could be a situation of another pandemic that's actually real.
It could be some new novel virus.
Right. Yeah. It could be any number of things, but my tree got shook in 2020, and it put a little seed in my brain that went, that spooked me enough to go, this society that we live in is fragile. It's far more fragile than I realized. So maybe it would be best to just gain a couple of skills.
Yeah.
Learn what my grandpa did. You know, my grandpa used to try to teach me this stuff, and it glazed over me, and I just didn't think about it, right? So now I've got a situation where the world is a little uneasy. I would, in my personal opinion, a lot uneasy, but I'm talking from the average viewpoint. And I think that they are very, very aware now that things could be bad, but hopefully I don't ever have to use this stuff. Hopefully it just sits in my closet or in my shed or in my garage, you know, and I don't ever have to touch it. And that's the hope. That's the, you know, now
some guys are way into it. Some guys have a real hard on for needing to showcase these skills.
Absolutely.
Like, and not just in the put it on social media kind of way. Like, I've met some dudes that are like, there's a distinct fire in their eyes where they're like, yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah, they're licking their lips.
And it's like, that's another branch on that tree.
And
that's a great analogy.
That's the psycho branch.
Yeah.
That's over here in the I want civil war.
How hard do you think the Amish are laughing at us right now for talking about this?
I think,
like, we fucking told you.
I think if they were allowed to laugh, they would chuckle greatly. So, but yeah, they're through their beards and under their bonnets, they're snickering and they're just shaking their heads. Really, they're just like, of course, you know. The America's biggest "I told you so" comes from the Amish.
Oh yeah, could you imagine in the Amish rise in the ashes of civilization?
The Mennonites are like,
yeah,
like
yeah. If there was a flood and they were like the Noah character archetype, I don't think any of us are getting on that boat.
No.
I think they're like,
no, they're locking that barn.
What's it like down there? Why don't you call somebody on your cell phone? You know, I don't know what they would do. I think what you said resonates with me personally in that I've always had in the back of my mind the way I was raised, you know, hey man, you know, don't always trust all this stuff. It could all just be, you know, gone in a moment's notice kind of thing. But the fragility of society was exposed to me pretty early on in the pandemic, where I was like, oh, wow. You know? And I think we talked about that a little bit, maybe not at length because I was doing a different show at that point in time. But, you know, watching people, like I watched a dude like body check an old man for a can of beans on a store shelf. And I took it from him and handed it to the old guy. And I was like, are we there? Like, we're there now? You're like culling the weak so you can have a can of fucking black-eyed peas? Fuck off. Like, you know, and the old guy was like, oh, thanks. And then just kind of like marched away. This isn't fucking Seattle. This wasn't like
dystopian,
some dystopian future where, you know, I'm waiting
You're
for
not
total
fighting
recall
for
and
corn.
shit. Yeah,
Right?
exactly. And yeah, I was kind of like, that was pretty jarring. I was just like, wow, like we're already there.
I remember when that happened, you told me about
and all that stuff, and I was just like, this is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
So like,
and it takes that little for it to go.
Almost nothing. It was opinion and coverage, and then state mandates and all. Like, it just went from zero to get fucked. I mean, we went from No Child Left Behind to fuck them kids in like 16 months.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy shit, I want out of this area.
Yeah.
Like, I had seen a chalk outline forming around that city for years, but I was like, dude, no mas.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but like, I have some friends that are way on the edge.
Yeah.
They're like, and in two different ways, like, I'm expecting for this to happen, and I'm going to passively fuck off to my little sanctuary that not even you know about.
Right.
And then there's the other folks that I've met. We'll call them more acquaintances than friends, I suppose, but that are like the twinkle in the eye, like, I can't fucking wait.
Yeah,
like, come at me, bro. It's survival time, and they think they're Rambo and shit. And they're like, well, I don't think I'm on either one of those spectrums, but I know they exist, and not just for the media coverage part of it. But I do think there's a growing sex appeal for preparedness and at large, whatever that may be.
It's a growing industry for sure.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, people are, and the political noise is stoking that fire now. Like, if you're a company that sells bullets, that sells freeze-dried food, that sells survival and tactical gear, you're making a killing right now.
Yeah.
You know, because you can twist pretty much any headline, statute, court ruling, whatever the case is, and offer that as a scare tactic to make sales. And they're doing just that, which is also kind of pitiful in my opinion. But also, I can't hate it as much as I used to make fun of it. Truly.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, that's a pretty whack job. Now it's like,
I mean, everybody is in the right place at the right time at one point in history.
Sure.
So it is a balancing act between exploitation of those fear situations, because they can't control the news. They can't control the court rulings. They can't control the headlines.
Right.
However, where's the line drawn when these survival companies are either exploiting the headlines and going, hey, look, they're coming to get them. Buy as much as you can for me. Ching, 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 Or they're like, this is what we do anyway, and they're doing that. What do you want? Do you want more? I'll give you more. So I think it's hard to tell right now. We are in the middle of the eye of the storm kind of situation where you don't know where north, west, and east is in this scenario, where the companies could be either exploiting and profiteering, or
some of it is
they're in the right
marketing, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Some of it's like, yeah.
And those companies, I would say, find something more local, find something more humanistic, more realistic, and that aren't trying to exploit you out of fear. Going, they're coming to get you.
Right.
Buy our nutrients.
This is exactly where I'm going to shift gears on this podcast and drive directly into. Let's play a little tinfoil hat thought experiment game. Let's crunch our tinfoil hats on real good and tight.
Got it.
What are the most sought after skills in a collapsed society, dystopian Mad Max type of thing, in your opinion? Give me like one or two. I've got one that I think would be the number one skill. If it's like dystopian, or it's like totalitarian government versus the rising resistance, like a Star Wars type of narrative.
What's the number one skill set, like skill
that you
set?
could bring into the dystopian future where you'd be like a pretty hot commodity?
I honestly, invisibility would be my number one skill set. Disappearing, and so
I think marketable skills though.
Okay.
Like, I would have to think,
or like, what could you bring to a community kind of situation?
I think being like a fantastic armorer, somebody that can build guns out of spare parts, would probably be like a tremendous skill to learn.
Oh yeah.
Like, go learn some gunsmithing and be like, oh yeah, I've got all the parts, just bring me all these dimensional things, because there's tons of gun parts in America.
I would say basic field medicine.
Field medicine is my...
If you can be kind of a makeshift field doctor to a certain degree, and being able to mend wounds and have basically a nurse's level of knowledge on how to survive and helping people, you're invaluable. Like, and then I don't know, outside of agriculture, food cultivation, I mean, anybody can really do that.
Sure.
So it just takes, reading a book, essentially.
So not poli-sci major.
No, we're going to need, I'm going to need zero therapy or
no
therapists.
No,
no one's going to need, they're
a doctorate in lesbian dance theory and a double major in underwater basket weaving.
They're going to struggle. They're going to struggle to find a community to live in, I think.
Women's studies abroad. Those kinds of things are,
yeah.
No, I'm taking some shots, obviously. Calm down. I can feel the keyboard heating up. It's okay. It was a joke. Yeah, I'm curious on, because I've known you for some time.
Yeah.
You've always kind of favored tradecraft over traditional higher education studies, right? You're like, I've heard you talk about, what would be a better way to survive now and is have lasting skills, things you can do with your hands. Trade schools are important because who's going to...
Infrastructure.
Yeah, who's going to rebuild the road, who's going to cut the trees down, who's eligible to build homes. Like, these are things that you're always going to need to fall back on in some fashion.
Yeah.
Enter the topic at hand of preparedness versus, prepper or whatever, whatever this segment is.
Yeah.
It's interesting to me that I'm kind of coming around on that a little bit more too, where I'm like, I never discounted that. It's like I get its relevance, and now I'm starting to stack rank its importance. I'm like, actually, I mean, if shit does pop off, or God forbid the whole industry that you're in goes away, and you don't have any marketable skills anywhere else, and there is no food service industry because maybe AI is putting in little robots to flip the burgers and automate that stuff. And well, now what are you going to do? What if you lose your house? What if can go, it's a dangerous rabbit hole to live in, but at the same time, yeah, man, I think there's a lot of importance to that maybe I hadn't considered before a few years ago.
It will all be balanced on, and this is the part where I had a kind of a hard time answering that question, because it really depends on what level of dystopia are we talking?
Yeah, for sure.
Because do these still exist? Do we have power?
Yeah, is it Skynet or is it
right? Is
Outbreak? Right. There's two totally different.
Right. So will the skill sets of being able to hack a network, to be able to be a part of a communication system, is that all going to be useful or able to be used? So there's two different kind of dystopian mindsets here, where like I talk about crypto in this regard, where I'm like, because I get into crypto fights quite a bit, because
I love crypto fights. I probably use different ammunition for that conversation than you do, but please go on.
My argument against crypto is, first of all, I call it Minecraft money. And they'll argue, no, it has legitimacy. It's backed. And I was like, I don't care. It's still digital. I was like, they're like, yeah, but if the world goes to crap and they put it, I was like, best case scenario. Let's say best case scenario, the governments of the world decide to collectively, because of the crashing of the dollar and the rising of this other, in order to create a monetary peace, they go to a one system global currency, which will make your crypto piracy money. So they will have a black market for your piracy money, and that's the only place that you're going to be able to spend your piracy money. So let's say they have a big net, which they will, to catch all the piracy people and black bag you and put you away for using piracy money against the global currency.
Disappear in one of Mr. Creedy's black bags.
Exactly. Yeah. So you don't get to use your piracy money. You think you're going to be smarter than the government systems. But that is a leapfrog situation. You'll be smarter, then they'll be smarter, then they'll be smarter, then they'll be smarter. It's going to be a game forever, and you're all going to get swept up in honeypots, and you're all going to get swept up with your fake money, and it's going to be bad, and it's going to be piracy money, and it's all a trap. And so enjoy it while you can. I still don't know how you buy bread or pay your rent or electricity bill with it. But okay, you do your money, and it goes up and down, and you get mad, and then you get happy, and then you get mad, and I watch you guys all do that. So that's best case scenario. Worst case scenario is we don't have electricity anymore.
Right.
We're off grid, and we are down to the concept where people are like, silver and gold, right? Which I don't even agree with silver and gold. No one's going to want to trade for your fancy rocks. No one's going to want to trade for that. So what you're going to end up doing is, because then they started arguing, well, it's going to be stored in the satellites, and we can build these modulars that can actually, extract it from the satellites. And I'm like, no one's going to give you eggs or cans of beans. No one's going
to accept it.
Yeah.
That's the foundational problem it has today.
Yeah.
The nature of the cryptocurrency, like Bitcoin, its very nature is to withstand and avert any form of regulation, to be completely decentralized. In order for it to have legitimacy, to be accepted at the grocery store and tradable, is that they have to yield to regulation. Which means, and it has always meant, that cryptocurrency is worth whatever someone's willing to pay for it that day.
Yeah. That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
There is no backing, and until the Trade Commission and governments can sink their teeth into it and roll it up as part of a recognizable currency or fund monopoly money that can be used at whatever, and it's up to your business to enter the marketplace if you want to use that as a form of currency, your loss or gain, go with God. That's the yin and yang. Like, I can't be regulated to be successful. I can't be recognized without regulation. I'll recognize you if you yield to regulation. Without regulation, you're an outlaw currency. So it's a hobby. It's fun money. Now, I know a lot of people, while it was trendy, made a shit ton of money on it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. Like, would I invest into it? Not really. There is no stable backing to uphold that currency, and never has been. So until they breach that threshold, and then they've lost, because it is going to be against the world standard or the dollar standard or the euro standard or whatever for its valuation, which means game over.
Yeah.
It's just like
Its whole value is
the
dependent.
Deutschmark or the dollar or the crypto. Or
The
whatever.
whole value of it is dependent on it not being regulated, but then it also does not have value.
Its nature
Yeah.
is dependent on it not being regulated, or it can't succeed. The value will still always be, until it's backed and regulated,
Yeah.
whatever someone wants to pay for it.
But the minute it gets regulated, then it depletes all of the nature of its value.
100%.
Yeah.
So it's when an unmovable, when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object, right?
Correct.
So go forward in time to your satellite argument. Like, that is happening today.
Yeah.
You guys just don't see it yet, because there's tradable markets that are watching other things, and then it's the sentiment of the buyer that's driving the peaks and valleys of the currency.
Yeah.
It's none of it's real.
None of it.
So I don't know how they don't see that now, and then argue with you, well, I'm going to keep it in bespoke satellites that are going to be accessible by who? You and the other 5 of you that have this currency?
Yeah.
That are just going to pay each other with it to trade food you don't have and shelter you can't get and electricity.
Bullets you don't have. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's not. It's preposterous.
It's goods and services. It's outlawed items. It's going to be guns and booze and like prohibition era shit is what'll be
medicine.
Yep.
Yep.
Water.
You're gonna eggs.
Right.
Cigarettes, it's going to be prison currency essentially, and you're going to have to deal with it. I've collected dozens, and I highly suggest anybody who's actually doing any type of prep, I collect as many of those little mini bottles of booze as you possibly can. That'll trade you for a meal. Yeah. If all you need is a meal, and you've got a big jug that you got to carry around a bunch of little ones. It's like $10, $15, instead of having to measure out of here, this is how much you get for a meal. Like, I've played these scenarios out. So yeah, I've got a whole bunch of like little mini bottles that I'm just keep collecting, and I will have a bunch of those so that when it comes down to it, I'll be like, I'll trade you this for, that chicken right there.
10 ears of corn and one chicken.
Yeah. So
I don't know. It's a fun thought experiment, because obviously we have to set the rules and we've done this since we've known each other. We've been playing this game.
It started off with zombies.
We used to figure out where would be the most appropriate place to survive a zombie apocalypse, and
Absolutely.
we're talking about it 2 decades later.
But it's
with different ingredients. It's the same game. Same game.
Yeah.
And I don't have to hide from the Amish, because clearly they're not watching the podcast right now, or possibly listening to it, because they shun things like electricity.
Yeah, so screw you, Amish.
Weird Al has got my back on that one. No, honestly, I think it's a sexy topic that people are talking about right now.
Yeah.
I believe in it, not to a commercial degree, where it's like, get the guns and the but yeah, I think being prepared for the worst and having a net of people around you that, should shit hit the fan, you can check in on without
crossing the line into
without prepping for Y2K, the way people freaked out about. Exactly.
Accelerationism.
Yeah.
Trying to push for the concept of like the collapsitarians that are just like rubbing their hands and licking their lips and chomping at the
guys with the fire in their eyes.
Yeah.
Can't wait for
Yeah, there is a really sensible middle ground of just being prepared for anything. It doesn't have to be governmental collapse. It can just be going, the world's a crazy, shitty, dangerous place. No matter what. It could be a hurricane down in Louisiana. It could be, an earthquake in California. It can be tornadoes ripping through the middle of the country. And, or it could be an EMP. It could be a collapse of the infrastructure of just our electrical grid. It could be 3 or 4 years of drought that puts us in a bad situation. There's so many
to do with CERN firing up while a laser's being shot, and Aurora Borealis is being forecasted.
Right. Yeah.
Blue House is not burning down at the set. I told you the tinfoil's coming on. No, I think you're right.
Yeah. Could be anything.
General preparedness for. We do this in microcosms in our lives today.
Yeah.
What happens if I can't pay rent?
Yeah.
Like what happens, like I lose my job, what's at stake, food, water, shelter, like the first 3 things you got to complain about, right? Like, well, I can keep paying rent or lose my motorcycle on my motorcycle payment or whatever, right? Like, so I think it's just scaling that up a little bit.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, but yeah, there's definitely a market for it. So I don't know. I just thought, because there's a lot of people that are still like, well, those prepper weirdos, but then more and more and more people are getting into it. I'm seeing this in like a commercial wave, so to speak. So.
And I think month after month, the news cycle helps with that.
Yeah, I think the news cycle is perpetuating fear stoking, and fear porn season is here, man.
Yeah.
It's live, it's happening. So, especially in America.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in Europe.
And in
Europe's on fire, but
Europe's on fire
all the time. But yeah.
Dude, I saw somebody that made a Bop It toy. The Bop It, Twist It, but it was Brexit on one of them, and you had to like listen for it, and you're like, what? I kept saying that over. Brexit. I was like, oh, that's fun. I don't know who built that, but that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember what else we were going to bring up tonight. We had something else, didn't we? We watched a movie.
We watched a great movie.
We watched a fucking killer movie. Yeah. What'd you think? We watched Boy Kills World.
Boy Kills World.
Yeah.
And I had been wanting to see this for a while because I saw a preview of it a couple months ago. Yeah. And I was like, this looks really fun and interesting. I'll wait until it comes out. But you happened to purchase it.
Yeah.
And said, dude, you got to see this. And I was like, I've been wanting to. This is cool. And you had already watched it once. And man, I cannot explain how fun this movie was. You've got this kind of fantasy scenario where a young boy in what seems to be a Southeast Asian country, more or less, but with some type of like dictatorship rule from a like sloppy American European government of sorts, family. It's completely comic book style. It doesn't have anything really
it's like
to do.
Dystopian monarchism meets a weird city in the middle of Southeast Asia that looks like post-apocalyptic America, but the surroundings are like Vietnam.
Yeah.
It's weird. So, which lends itself to the fever dream fantasy motif that they were portraying. Yeah. And
so take John Wick and then turn it up and break the knob.
Yeah.
Because that's basically...
It's extremely gory.
Violent, but in the most artistically beautiful way. And it is... Bill Skarsgård plays a kid whose family gets killed by this...
that guy called the Shaman is all we know.
Well, no, he gets kidnapped by the shaman, right?
Yeah.
So, but he's kidnapped by the shaman because his family, his mother and sister, get killed by these dictators on a culling.
Oh, right.
They're doing this culling thing. And he gets raised in the jungle in a survivalist situation with this crazy shaman guy.
Yeah.
He's like a jungle ninja, right?
Yeah,
And
it makes no sense, and it's fun.
but
Yeah.
he's mute and deaf.
The child.
The child. So he can't hear or speak, but as he grows to be a man, his inner dialogue, which is the narrator of the whole movie, is a video game that he played, like a Street Fighter video game, and the ready, fight.
Right, it's the voice of the video game, like, referee and
That he's taken as his own inner monologue voice, but it's voiced by H. John Benjamin, which is, for those that don't know, Bob from Bob's Burgers or Archer from the show Archer, and many other things too. But it's incredible because he's narrating the facial expressions of Bill Skarsgård giving possibly his best performance
in a weird movie.
ever.
And he was phenomenal in this movie.
Yeah, and it was wall to wall, balls to balls, 100% awesome from the minute it starts to the minute it ends. There isn't a single point in this movie that doesn't make you go, holy shit.
Yeah.
And
comedy super highs, like grotesque factor super high.
Martial arts
stuff, very well done. The stuff they did there.
The art direction on it is incredible.
The love of macaroons, like it's got.
That scene is so good.
It's so good.
Yeah,
it's so good. So yeah, like
the soundtrack is killer.
Yeah, the story continues to unfold, and it gets weirder and weirder, and it's like the most basic premise that's easy to figure out, but you're not prepared for it because you're just this auditory and visual onslaught of action and excitement.
It's a Tower Siege revenge story.
Yeah,
that's it. But it's
very clever. Like the serial characters that are sponsoring the culling and stuff, where they're like putting it on television, and oddly most of the people are like just on board with this totalitarian thing that just happens every year.
Yeah,
it's crazy good. It's really not an original storyline, but an extremely original concept and delivery for sure.
Yeah,
but I thought it was like the best I've ever seen from Bill Skarsgård, and I just watched The Crow right after that.
Definitely. Yeah. It's definitely in my top movies of 2024 for sure. Yeah, it was so much fun.
It was a ton of fun. Yeah, like I haven't seen a ton of movies this year that I have not already watched.
Yeah,
I've seen a lot of new series that I haven't, but for movies wise, like Deadpool, this movie, like those are kind of my top two right now.
Yeah, for sure. I would definitely. It's the rewatchability on this film is super high. Like it is like I will put it on whenever I want and just go, yep, this is on, and you're going to be entertained every time you watch it, just because it has such cleverness to every skipping beat of this, and
you're gonna love it unless you're like grossed out by blood for sure, because there's an awful lot of that. It's violent.
Very.
But in a really Mortal Kombat video game sort of way.
Yeah.
Like, which is sort of the central premise of where he gets his inner monologue from and all that stuff too. So it touches on all the right themes of shit that I've loved my whole life, like video games, ninja movies, turning shit up to 11, high comedy highs, you know, that kind of stuff. So it's definitely a movie up my alley for sure. Yeah. I just didn't realize how cool it was going to be until I watched it. And I only saw it, I don't know, 4 or 5 days ago before we just rewatched it last night. So it was like pretty new to me. I was like, I think he's going to enjoy the shit out of this. But
yeah, it had a great cast.
It'll be my first 9 meg movie, I think.
I would give it 9.
Yeah, I'm giving it a 9 meg.
Solid 9.
It was great. Yeah. There's not a scene in there I wouldn't like back up and rewatch to either see how they did it or experience the shock and awe factor of what they did while they were doing it. So
yeah,
it is super fun.
Yeah. I did see another movie on my way down here.
Yeah. Comfortable ride, I heard.
Yeah. I was comfortably wedged. Let's put it that way. Comfortably wedged.
They just need to make airplane seats bigger.
They really do.
That's all they got to do.
Yeah.
Like less seats, bigger seats.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, we have to up the price. 'Cause we can't pack more of you sardines in these cans, and people are just gonna have to pay that.
I'm advocating for even a gap in between the seats. Is all I'm asking. Just give me a gap. Give me just like 4 to 6 inches in between.
So was the flight packed?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's the problem. Because sometimes when you're like sardining it, and you're like, hey man, I'll sit further back if I have to, if there's open spots. And most of the time they're like, yeah. Because they have to do the census, and they have to match you to your seat, but sometimes they'll let you move.
Yeah,
but
it was solid.
not the case. No. Yeah, sorry to hear that. Anyway, the movie you watched.
I decided because it's that time of year and there was nothing else to watch on the plane, and I'd kind of been anticipating this film anyway. It's a new film called Abigail, and I'd seen the preview and it looked interesting. And it's kind of your basic premise. This movie felt like they hodgepodged like 3 different films together, 3 or 4, and borrowed from 3 or 4 different films and created this film. So it didn't feel fresh or original in any way. It was still fun, but it felt heavily borrowed from other movies. Sure. And then they hodgepodged it and created this monster. And so it starts off with a scene of a group coming together in a surveillance way, and they're all obviously not police officers. So they are a group of bad guys that have been put together, and they go on a mission where each one has their own role, and the whole mission is to kidnap this little girl who was a ballerina. And at night they pick her up, and they kidnap her at her house.
So they're like evil Navy SEALs, kind of.
Not that level. No, they're not like special ops people, but they are kind of specialists in muscle or computers or
just bad guys with specialty skills.
Yeah. Gotcha. So, and none of them know each other. So you find that out. They get the girl. They all get in the van. They drive out to this remote kind of like old mansion, right, where it's going to be the hideout house. And then they go in and they meet with the guy who had orchestrated it. And the guy who orchestrated it says, okay, you got to just stay here for 48 hours. We'll be making the phone calls for the ransom to her father, who's some crazy billionaire guy, right?
Sure.
But they don't know who her father is. They're not supposed to. None of them are supposed to know each other's names.
So this is like a Reservoir Dogs kind of thing.
Right.
Don't tell me your fucking name, Mr. Pink.
Yeah, exactly. And in fact, they named them after the original Rat Pack crew. So there's,
Beautiful.
Yeah. So all of the people, the Vegas Rat Pack, and so they each have one of those names, right? And there's pushing of personalities going back and forth. I'm tougher than you. I'm smarter than you, and they're left to their own devices after the main guy leaves and goes, I'll be in contact with you once I hear back from the father of the little girl. Keep her isolated. You're the only one who gets to talk to her so that she doesn't hear any of your other voices, kind of thing. And so the main girl is the one who's selected to babysit her, essentially.
And how old is the girl?
She's probably 12, but the main girl is, I don't know, 30.
Sure.
30, so, but
I meant the victim, but yeah.
Yeah, she's like 11 or 12, somewhere around there. Okay. And she is obviously, she wakes up after they drugged her. She's terrified. And she starts like saying things that gets relayed to other members. Like, why? Like, who's her dad? Like, she said that her dad's going to kill us all. Mm-hmm. And they're like, I don't know, should we know that? No, we shouldn't know that.
Right.
But so they find out the dad is like this major crime boss that is like,
oh no,
this like kill everybody type of, like, has a reputation of being. And so the guy who's the brains, the head of the pack, right, the Rat Pack, he's like, out. I know who this guy is. I'm leaving. Mm-hmm. And it turns out they can't leave. the doors have been sealed, the windows have been sealed. And they're like, what is happening? And then all of a sudden one of them gets picked off and another one gets picked off. And everyone's like, whoa, people are dying. And it turns out this little girl is not a little girl and is a big problem for them.
Sure.
And it turns out that they've all had some type of connection. And you find that out as the story goes on. Fun.
She's like a vampire?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, and it's not really spoiling anything if you see it in the trailers or anything. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, turns out little girl's a vampire.
So the person that orchestrates the heist is my job is to orchestrate food for the vampires kind of thing, and this is how we do it for her because she's easily mistaken as a
There's a reason
girl?
for it.
Or are they connected to her or her family somehow?
They are connected to her and her family somehow.
So that's the piece that's like the thing we're hungry to learn more about. As
right, exactly.
I gotcha. Okay.
So yeah, and
is it like a horror movie, like scary, like oh fuck, like
there's some gore, yeah, and there's some horror. I would say it's kind of a mix between kind of a suspense, action, dark comedy, and horror. So there's a lot of it is kind of like a build up to the horror, and then the last act is all horror.
Oh, okay.
So you're basically, there's a scene where one of the girls falls into a swimming pool, indoor swimming pool. That's nothing but bodies and body goop. And then there's a lot of like ripping of throats.
So probably not a mean movie.
Not a you movie.
Yeah,
I would, yeah. Okay. But there is some dark comedy where she bites one of the girls, and if you don't drink the blood, like you just get bit, she can then possess you and make you a puppet. And so one of the girls, and she's like doing ballet dancing, and they go scene to scene where the other girl is a ballet dancer, and she's like puppeting around as she's got like her vampire face, and then tries to attack her friends. And so there's entertaining portions of it that were kind of creative, but for the most part, it was kind of just it was fun, but nothing that really struck me as like remarkably original. Gotcha. And so I would say probably a 6.5 megs, and with a front end of the meg.
Front end of the meg.
Yeah, so closer to a 7.
Swimming toward a 7.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but not bad.
I got some feedback from a listener about the meg scale.
Oh, yeah.
And that not only were they dying laughing that we're using the megs as a scale, but that we further articulated the front or the back half of the meg to illustrate which way we're leaning on that scale when we land on a so-so in between numbers. So I think we're doing it right. That's great news.
Good.
So,
yeah. All right. That's awesome.
6.5 toothy end of the
toothy end.
Toothy end of the meg.
Yeah.
That's fair.
So, but I don't know what I'm going to watch on my way home because I've got another plane flight where I'll be.
You got another layover on the way back, or is it?
I think so.
Oh, okay.
I haven't explored that path yet. So
I'll check into that gate when I have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. So what else? Anything good? Anything else good?
I don't think so. I think I'm fresh out. I mean, we could talk politics all night long, but I'm kind of not into it tonight.
Yeah, I'll be better prepared for politics probably in October. I won't be as distracted with horror movie marathoning. So
yeah, it'll be a horror movie marathon.
Yeah.
So
just counting the hours till you can start on that. It's not for me. Still.
Do we want to?
Let's do it.
Crack open
the gospel.
The gospel.
Gen Z.
Okay, so we're at chapter 24, correct?
What's the headline?
2 paths.
That's it.
All right. So we've got some beautiful illustration here.
Yeah, it's good. That I think is one of my favorite parts of this publication is that they did take the time to make a hardback, and it wasn't just like a proverb book of funny internet quotes kind of thing, which is essentially what the page started as.
Yeah.
But they like curated some pretty dope artwork in here.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's on every single page illustrating each of these stories.
And it's not all the same artists. These are different, like...
No, they went out and found this stuff.
Yeah,
like, they worked pretty hard on this book.
And it gives credit to the artist at the bottom. Like, this one's by Johannes Vermeer.
Sure.
From 1655. Like, they did a really good job of, like, curating the artwork for this. It's kind of impressive.
Yeah, it's one of my rare, I must have, like, this item thing, and it worked out. So, yeah.
Well, let's get into it then. Let's get into the word. Two paths.
Yeah, two of them.
Sacred Blood explained how to live your best life and in what manner to properly manifest, telling the chat these parables. Everyone who lets my words alter their brain chemistry are like those who learn green flags from red. So when the op of ops tries to riz them up, they swerve and have no trauma to dump. But they who merely let my words live rent-free in their heads are like those who don't want peace, but problems always.
Yeah, sure.
For when the gaslighting begins, they quickly become Delulu. Again, Holy Bro said, beware of how you cook, for all are cooking whether they know it or not. But not all pay heed to what ingredients they use. Beware that your riz is true and you will pull what is just. Once, Holy Bro was vibing with two sisters, Mary and Martha. Now, while Martha was cooking, trying to make it bussin', Mary was vibing at the feet of Holy Bro as she cooked. And Martha said, bruh, you for real gonna let my sister sit there while I'm doing the most? And for what? But Jesus just said, Martha, bro, chill. For nothing shall all bussin' come from me.
Oh, it's great.
It's true. All bussin' comes from the J-Man.
Man. Yeah.
But yeah.
You can't let the op of ops riz you up like that.
No. You can't.
You just can't. What's next week?
Chapter 25 is Wicked Tenants.
Yes.
The parable of wicked tenants. So
I am going to be very upset when we run out of these stories, and I feel like we're about halfway there.
I feel like we're about halfway there.
Yeah.
Let's see. This is chapter 25. How many chapters we got?
I don't know. I want to say there was 50 or 52.
It would make sense that they would, because 50. The Ascension. So we're halfway through.
We're halfway there, guys.
Yeah. Well, this has been a great segment. We're gonna have to find something to replace it.
I know. I've been searching to try and value bank a few defending woke logics, which I got to bring back.
Yeah.
So
I think people actually liked that, and we just kind of fell off because it's a hard thing to do.
It's hard to do, but you have to spot the ridiculousness of it. And for me, like the couple that I've had have been like personal examples where I was like, oh fuck, they're being serious.
Right.
Like, that was a real account about the polyphobic conversation.
Yeah.
Where I was just like, no fucking way. And so they're there. We'll find a way to bring them back for you guys. It's just been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The news cycle's been a little hot, and it's been making it hard to,
it feels like everything this year has been rapid.
Yeah.
Like at all times. It's just since January, it's just been go, go, go.
I mean, we've been doing this for almost a year now, right?
I think a little more than that.
Really?
Yeah, I want to say this is I'll have to look it up. I want to say that we're closing in on 50 episodes, though.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we've taken a few weeks off here and there for stuff. So
yeah.
How many weeks? 53 in a year? So
52 in a year.
52, so 52. So we're probably at or over a year. We'll have to check it out. We'll do something fun for the big one. But obviously, election night is a Tuesday.
Yeah.
I want to make sure. I don't know when do you vote? Like time of day kind of stuff. Do you break out on the 5th and go stand in line at your local library or wherever your district allows the voting booth at?
I do.
You go do that in the morning? Do you do it in the afternoon?
I do it in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do it on Tuesday, basically, it's the only, I make a point of it. I don't work Tuesdays anyway, typically. So,
Because they're doing the like early boothing and early voting in this state, and I have to figure out around my work schedule when to go down there. So the reason I'm bringing that up is because I would love to do a podcast reaction live stream
yeah,
all night, just pizza and popcorn.
I'm down.
Bring everyone out, just
I'll
get some perspectives.
I'll get Aaron in on it too.
Yeah,
that'd be
get some
fun.
reactions if we can. I think it'd be fun.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how long that's going to last. Like, I'll have to work the next day, so if we're like deep into the early morning hours of polling and stuff, it's be like, dude, we've been live streaming for 10 hours. I got to go to bed.
Yeah.
So we'll have to figure something
Because
out.
that's all I'm going to be doing anyway, is we're going to be sitting there watching the results. We might as well riff on it.
Yeah, that was my thought too, is like, that's exactly what I'll be doing all night, for one. And for two, I don't know what to do to make it more entertaining other than to try and place bets on states that might go one way or the other. Because
Right.
we've had some early predictions on, what the art of the possible, some long shots, get some like 10 to 1s.
Yeah.
See where, I'm interested to see where Hawaii goes.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah,
So-
because we've talked deeply about Hawaii and what kind of shift. I mean,
and their political poster child, Tulsi Gabbard, is about to appear at a Trump
yeah.
event. You know what I mean? So
And she's put
along
her
with-
hat in that ring.
along
so,
with RFK and stuff. So things are weird.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe we'll do like a breakout on like what states we think and what the
yeah,
turnout will be like.
we'll get a whiteboard or something. And
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
yeah, that'd be great.
Figure it out. But yeah, that's coming up.
Cool.
Also, it's sneaking up on October, so I think I'm gonna try and bring another guest on as a friend of mine. So see where that goes too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good.
True.
But all right, well, this was a fun one, guys. I love being here. I love being in
Yeah.
town, but
Like having you down.
yeah, we won't be back. Like we said, I won't be back next month, but we'll be doing it as we normally do for the rest of the duration. And then in November, I've got a couple of travel dates. I think
plus minus holiday season stuff, because my
Yeah.
schedule's really in the air on that.
Yeah,
So
so-
we'll figure stuff out.
yeah. But all right,
well,
dude.
Cool, man. I guess we'll call it here. You
Yeah.
guys have a awesome evening, or we'll see you when we see you.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Later.